Disconnect the machine from power and wait 1 full minute before you ever start work on the electrical system. The only reason we have the door open on the machine while we're unplugging it is to illustrate the point of how long power stays in the system. Again, never open the door or work on the electrical system until the machine has been unplugged for 1 full minute for risk of electrocution. After unplugging the machine, you can use a flat-bladed screwdriver to open the electrical panel door. The replacement process for the on-off switch, the variable speed control, also called a potentiometer, the safety off switch, and the machine on light are all roughly the same in basic functionality. For the electrical components that have a contact block associated with them, you must first remove the contact block to remove the electrical component. Rarely is the contact block the problem. Typically, it's the rest of the switch or component that is the issue. When going through the repair process of replacing one of these components, we suggest not replacing the contact blocks in the beginning. Typically, you can avoid the wiring process associated with a contact block. If you've replaced a switch or a button and it still doesn't work, only then do we suggest replacing the contact block. If you do need to replace a contact block, be very careful to take note of the orientation of the wires. We suggest doing 1 wire at a time to avoid mixing things up. Using a small flat-headed screwdriver, you will back out the screws on the mounting block in order to remove an electrical component. Or the machine on light, you can feed your screwdriver up through the wire guard. Be careful not to disturb the wiring here. To illustrate how all this works, we've got all the electrical components associated with switches and buttons and lights laid out on the table to walk through. Installation of the on-off reverse switch into its mounting block is very simple. The only thing you need to take note of here is orientation when you're installing it on the machine. Plug the switch into the contact block and rotate it a 1/4 turn, and then you can simply use the 2 mounting screws to secure it to the electrical panel. The contact blocks simply snap back onto the mounting base. Take note of orientation before disassembly so you can get it right when you reinstall. To mount the potentiometer, or speed control, simply insert it into the base and make a 1/4 turn and secure the screws on the mounting base from inside the panel. You'll need to make sure that the orientation of the potentiometer is correct for full functionality. To establish proper orientation of the speed dial, think about the safety off switch as 12 o'clock. Spin the dial indicator to 7 o'clock position and leave it there. The wires on the potentiometer need to point towards 12 o'clock as well in order to plug into the machine. After this has been established, you can spin the shaft on the potentiometer to its full counterclockwise position. With orientation established, you can insert the potentiometer shaft into the bottom of the dial. After securing the potentiometer to the mounting base with the nut and washer, you're going to want to set the 2 set screws on the shaft with a 1/16 hex wrench. The safety off button inserts into the mounting base with a 1/4 turn. The contact block simply snaps on. Lastly, the light mounts into the base in the same way. A 1/4 turn will secure it to the mounting base. Notice that the bulb is located in the contact block. If you ever need to change a light bulb, it would take place from inside the panel. If you need to replace the VFD, we've set you up for success. The VFD shows up pre-programmed with all the same settings. It's truly plug and play. The only thing you'll need to do is remove the digital display from your old VFD and insert it into the new VFD. When replacing the VFD, for the most part, you won't have to do any wiring. Simply pull out the contact blocks and set them aside and use the ones that are already installed in your machine. Keep in mind that the jumper on the bottom of the VFD will need to remain in place in order for proper functionality. After mounting your new VFD into the panel, simply plug all the wires back in to the same locations from which they were removed. The proper orientation of the internal circuit breaker for the machine to have power is in the up position with the switch showing red. The electrical connection for the motor removes very simply with no tools.